What's up, y'all, and welcome into the Jack Vita Show. I am your host, Jack Vita, on this exciting Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. A monumental 50th season of Survivor has announced its cast. And joining me to break it all down is a Survivor historian, a day one fan in her own right. And she was also on a little show called Deal or No Deal Island. Kim Mattina. Kim, you are the greatest threat that Boston Robert has ever seen in his life.
Yeah, well, that's what he said. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me on, Jack. I'm super excited to break this down. Love some of them, not big fans of some of them, and others that I love, I just don't really want to see them again on Survivor. You know?
Kim's going to keep it real. I'm going to
Yeah.
keep it real. And we're going to dig into it today. So today we're discussing this cast. We're not projecting how we expect things to go. We have no idea how these tribes are going to shake out, although I do have a theory. I'll share that a little later. But we're going to just react to who we are seeing in this cast. And also, I think before we do that, it's just important we can share the timeline of all of this. So first of all, there are probably a lot of people like me that have not watched Survivor in a few years now, and they see season 50, they see some of these names, and they're back in and they want to watch. Well, this isn't going to air until next year, guys. It won't be on until spring of next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, they've already left. They're in sequester. They're ready to start filming. So there's going to be people that have to keep pretty tight-lipped coming into 50. Whether they will or not, I guess we'll see. I don't know. It's a
This
long
is
time.
this is a really interesting thing. They've never done this with Survivor before, where they're announcing the cast before they even start filming the season. Typically, I mean, the last big season like this was 5 years ago, Survivor 40, all winners, and it got leaked. We found out who was in the cast if you were an internet fan, but the cast didn't, or the show didn't get out in front of it and give it to the fans. They announced it in February or January, probably January, and then the show aired probably later on in February.
Mhm.
Well, that was the timeline. That's typical timeline for all of this. This is really interesting because we're getting the cast almost a year before the show airs. It's before they film it. The precedent to this, the only time that I've ever seen this with reality TV was Traitors of last season, Alan Cumming.
Right.
They just decided, let's give the fans the cast, and then you guys will see this 6 months from now or 8 months from now or whatever it was.
Well, and the thing about this is that I find really unprecedented is the fact that they've released CBS with its official Jeff Probst release of 50 cast before they've announced the 49 cast. They haven't even given the official
Yeah.
release on who's on 49. And I don't know. I feel maybe a little bit bad for those 49ers because, well, other than the fact that they are 49ers and, I'm not a fan of 49ers, but the fact that they're getting overshadowed even in the release. So it's going to be interesting to see how CBS markets this.
I like it. I think it's smart. I talked about it with my father, who's a PR specialist. He's been working in PR for a long time, and we
Mhm.
think the potential, the pro to doing something like this, is for their own benefit. In terms of you've put this out there. There are a few people on this cast who I think are major draws that are really going to get people excited and back into the fold. And
I agree.
now I'm probably going to want to watch Survivor 49, where I might not have been as interested before. But now I know, okay, Coach is coming back. Suri is coming back. Stephenie is coming back. Colby is coming back, and we'll dig into that a little later. But now that I know all these people are coming back, I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic about Survivor. So when they do announce 49, I'm probably more inclined to watch than I may have been otherwise.
Right. Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. And the other side of that is not really interested in New Era. I already know who the old school players are. So, yeah, I don't really care about 49. I'm not going to root for them anyway.
Could shake
Never
out that
know.
way. That's definitely the downside. It's
Yeah.
also interesting. I do think it is helpful for these people. So some of these people are leaving, and in the past, like Kim, when you went on Deal or No Deal Island, did you have to create some kind of lie to tell people of like, I'm not going to be on my phone for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever because I'm going out of the country to go save the narwhals or something like that?
I said I was going to Costa Rica for dental work. Simple. Yeah, I'm gonna be off the grid. I'm gonna be in Costa Rica for 2 weeks. I'll touch base when I get home because the only ones that knew I went were my sister, my mom, and my dad. That was it.
So it would have probably been nice for you to be able to tell people why you're actually not going to be able to
Oh
be
yeah,
reached, right? Yeah.
yeah. That would have been wonderful. It's like, yes, I'm so excited. I'm gonna go do a show. I can't tell you where I'm gonna be or what show it is, but just know you get to watch out for me. That would have been a lot of fun to be able to do that, but no, no can do. Especially with it being season one, new show, season one.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
didn't want anything leaking about the show at all.
So another part of this that's interesting was we've had some leaks, some rumored cast lists, and the final one that we got came out on Friday or Saturday, where it's like, all right, here's the cast. It was leaked from Survivor Sucks. Redmond, aka Martin Holmes, at Inside Survivor, he at one point pretty much confirmed it and said, "Yeah, I got the same thing." That was maybe on Sunday. I think some people were like, "Well, we've seen so many of these rumored lists. You never know where this information's coming from. Okay, let's wait till Wednesday. Let's see what it was." The information was right on the money. All 24 of those people that were on the list, 22 of them were confirmed. They have two mystery people from 49. I'm inclined to believe that they got the 49ers right, which I like that we're calling the 49ers. So this is really interesting because the people that were getting ready to go, they pretty much found out who all was going to be playing with them
Yep,
days before they lost their phones. So
absolutely.
that's another element to all this.
Could be a positive, could be a negative. Depends on if you got the call from somebody else, then you're probably on the ends. If you didn't get that call, you've got to be wondering who are they calling. And
So
I think it'll be that way for a few of them.
yeah, timeline of all of this. Monday's Memorial Day. They probably got to enjoy a nice holiday weekend. Tuesday, everybody flew out to LAX. Sometime Tuesday night, they all lost their phones. And then Wednesday morning, Jeff announced the cast and they all flew to Fiji. That it's sometime today they're flying out to Fiji. Today's Wednesday. We don't know when they're going to be start filming the season, but typically you get to Fiji, you do some press with some outlets. Dalton Ross is probably there. Mike Bloom, maybe he's going to be there, and they're
Yes,
going to interview and they're going to talk to people. I think Entertainment Tonight Canada was there for season 40. There could be a lot of outlets, more outlets than the normal season, I imagine, and they'll start filming 50 probably in a week or so would be my guess.
probably. Yeah. They're going to have a week of everything from, all of the prep that production does with the cast. They're going to do that. They're going to have their headshots and their beach shots and looking all nice and clean. They're going to do the group shots, all of that. They're going to have one day that's totally photo, period.
So let's dig into this cast here. That's
Let.
everything we know up to this point, and now we
Yep.
know who is playing. It's the largest cast in the history of the show, 24 contestants, and it's all. I can play it, put it up here on the screen for those that are watching, and we're not gonna keep this on here, but there are 6 people. I broke it up. I think there are 4 different groupings of, I mean,
Yep.
there's really 3 eras here, but then there are 4 different groupings. So season 1 through 18, the first 18 seasons, there's 6 people from that. It's Coach, Suri, Colby, Jenna Lewis, Ozzy, and Stephenie. Seasons 32 through 38, so the 30s. We skipped over the 20s entirely. 30s, we've got, what were we going to say, Kim?
Completely. It's like the 20s were irrelevant. Excuse me. There were some great, great seasons in there.
Yeah. I really actually enjoyed the 20s a lot more than most people did. In the 30s, we have Angelina, Aubrey, Chrissy, Christian Hibicki, Mike White, and Rick Devens. Those are all from the 30s. And then we've got 12 new era people, 6 from the first 7 seasons of or 6 of the 40s, 42 through 46. No one from 41, actually. So we got Charlie, Dee, Emily, Jonathan, Q, Tiffany. And then lastly, we have a ton of people from the last 3 seasons. We actually have 6 from just the last 3 seasons, and including this season that's about to air, 49. Genevieve, Joe, Camilla, Kyle, Rizzo, and Savannah. So that's how it all breaks down. And I'm just putting this out here for now, and we'll go through this cast. But my thought was, when I was kind of breaking this up and seeing who all was in this cast, was, is this a potential way that they could maybe split up the tribes? They do some kind of eras theme, Survivor Battle of the Eras, like they did on the last season of the Challenge, Survivor, or the Challenge 40. You have 4 different eras of the show. Now, this is technically 3 eras because the new era is an era in itself. Do you think that we could potentially see something like this in terms of like splitting up the tribes, or do you think they'd want to maybe mix people up a little more?
I think they're going to mix it up a little bit, but I could totally see like season 1 through 18 with the oldest ones in terms of seasons with the newest ones. I could see that. And then the middle eras, I would say. I could see them doing that. And also because of the way that they've got it split up. Because if they do 4 tribes of 6, yeah, they could do that. They could do that. What I would prefer to see is 3 tribes of 8 with 24 players, because I don't like 6-man tribes because it's very easy to.
Yeah.
That's where you get those unanimous votes and things like that.
Right.
So I'm
Well,
not.
it's really not a lot of wiggle room, and it's a lot of
Yeah.
just, we got to get somebody out,
Yeah.
and with the pre-existing relationships,
Yep.
you know, the first thing that I would think is Coach and Ozzy are going to go after each other, and then, you know, who is on that first, if that's a group. But anyway, to your point, there's less wiggle room. I think we're either going to see 4 tribes of 6 or 3 tribes of 8. I don't think we'll see 2 tribes of 12, because 12 is like, when we started merging at 12, it's like, man, that's so many people. How is this going to work? So I think that's how it'll go. Thoughts on, we'll go through these different eras one at a time, Kim.
Okay.
So let's start with the first era.
The other thing to
Coach.
think about, though, Jack,
Sorry, yes.
is what if they did 2 tribes of 12 and then split it into 3, basically get 3 out of there and then go to 3 tribes of 7.
They could do that.
Possibility.
That would 3 tribes of 7. So after the first 3 boots, yeah, they could do that.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things they could do. All right, let's start with this first era of players.
Okay.
Coach, this is his 4th time. This is Cerie's 5th time, but really her 6th time, because she's going to be on Australian Survivor, which she already filmed. Colby, right. This is Colby's 4th time. This is Jenna Lewis's 3rd time.
Right.
Ozzy's 5th time. Stephenie's 4th time. All right.
Right.
Thoughts on these group of people? Who are you most excited to see? Who are you
Well,
surprised to see?
out of this group of six, I'm most excited to watch Stephenie play. Um, I'm happy that she. Let me preface everything here that
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you've already played 3, 4 times and you haven't won, might not be your game, right? So I'm not a big fan of some of these people. Sari, love Sari, but right. So out of this first group, Stephenie, I think, is the one I'm most excited to see coming back. Number one, because I truly loved watching Stephenie play when she did play originally. I'm more excited to see her play now that she's a mom, she's a wife, she's a mom, she's an entrepreneur. She was literally off the radar for reality
Yeah.
TV for a solid 10 years until she came back on the Traitors. Well, Snake in the Grass, but well, not really count that as much. But Traitors, first big entry back into reality TV. So she's definitely the one I'm most excited to see.
Yeah. She's the person that I'm obviously most excited to see too. I'll admit to my bias. Stephenie was my all-time favorite player as a kid. So I watched her back in '05. She was one of my childhood heroes. And then, as you mentioned, Stephenie did go off the grid. She got married around the time she went on. She may have been married before she went on Heroes versus Villains, or maybe she got married right after that. It was right around then. That was
Right.
2010. She went on. She got married. She started having kids. Her husband Kyle pitched for the Phillies and had a nice long baseball career. And she chose to be a baseball wife and to be a stay-at-home mom and support the kids. And she just kind of faded in the background. If you were a Phillies fan, maybe you saw her from time to time on TV at a game, but
Yeah.
she was not doing the reality TV circuit. And like you said, she had a private Instagram for a long time. She wasn't really on social media. She was as off the grid as a person could be, other than Colleen Haskell, I suppose.
Right.
But she was off the grid, and then she. I will give credit where credit's due. She did go on Rob as a podcast talking with T Bird, maybe around 2019, and then 2021. I actually had her on this show, and she did this podcast, and then she appeared on Snake in the Grass a year later, and then the Traitors shortly after that in 2023. And Stephenie is someone who has become a dear friend of mine who has been on this podcast more than anybody else. We co-hosted a Traitors recap podcast together for season 2. But I don't think it can be overstated just how big of a deal that Stephenie was in the year 2005, to the point that they brought her back immediately after for season 11 Guatemala, which they had never
Right.
done before. They brought her and Bobby John back. She was this huge phenomenon, reached the Rupert levels of popularity and fame, and it was really kind of amazing because it was at a point where it seemed like Survivor had sort of peaked already.
Somewhat, yeah. But there's multi dimensions to Stephenie beyond being on that I appreciate. I already mentioned, that she went off the grid, back on for this. She, had a very private life going. I'm excited to see her play development. What's going to change with how, because I think that's the big thing, honestly, with from 1 up to 38, is not just character development, but personal development and how that affects how they will play. And I'll be honest with you, I think that the old school players are actually probably going to have it a little bit easier than the new school, new era,
Hmm.
simply because it's not as physical. They're all older. Some of them are 25 years older than they were when they played before, Jenna. And so as much as you'd like to say the physicality won't play into it, yeah, it's going to play into it if they're playing the physical games. They haven't played the physical games in 10 years like they used to, and, Stephenie, even on Heroes versus Villains with her shoulder dislocating, that you don't, these guys are getting paper cuts and having to have medical come in. So think, I think that the old school survivors are tougher players and are going to have to play down to what the new school is playing. And Jeff's never going to bring them back with, the weights where they're out there on a platform and you've got to shove somebody off the platform into the mud. He may use the mud, but they're not going to ever see that kind of physicality again. So
Yeah,
that's
a good
that's
point.
I'm excited to see what she does. Someone like Ozzy, who was a physical threat. That was his thing. He was a physical threat and he caught fish. Well, is that physical threat even going to come into play if they're not doing physical challenges? Probably not. And I don't think Ozzy was the brightest as far as puzzles and stuff. I don't want to critique him, but
Well,
he
that's
was
what we're here to do.
he was pretty to look at and he was great at the physicals, but that doesn't mean that he can solve a puzzle. Um, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think Jenna is far more strategic than she ever got credit for. And we saw it. We saw it in All Stars. But she just couldn't quite get her hands on it. Colby, he was physical the first time he played, and he kind of went a little bit downhill as far as his physicality. But I also don't consider him a strategic mind as much. Coach, yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. He's entertainment.
Yeah.
You just shake your head at Coach sometimes, but I think that he brings an element to the game out of this first group. Suri is going to play her social game. Now, is Suri going to be able to change it up? Because she's always played just a little different each time she's played. What's she going to do this time? What's something she hasn't done before that will force them to keep her around? Because her social game, they will get rid of her early on because of her social game. So unless she's bringing something else to the table, Sari could be a very early boot.
Yeah, she's not going to help you a whole lot in the challenges. She's a big threat. I love Suri. I mean, I do.
Absolutely.
I know her a little bit. We've talked a little bit on the phone and stuff like that. She's wonderful. I will say though, I mean, 5 times, 6 times. I think there are some people that I probably would have rather seen get an opportunity
100%.
to play instead. And
100%.
part of the
And
other thing I like what you brought up with Stephenie is this is her fourth time, but she hasn't played in 15 years. So
exactly.
she's in a totally different season of life. Coach, same thing. He hasn't played in 13 years. And
Mhm.
Coach, he also is now a married man and a father. And I want to see what Coach is like now.
Yep.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with some of these.
And Stephenie, if you've seen her Instagram and her videos and such, that she has been working so hard over the last year. I mean, she was in great shape before, but she turned it up about 10 notches in the last year. And I mean, they started going through the interview process about 9 months ago for the old school ones. They've been at this grind for about 9 months. Stephenie is in amazing shape. So anything relating to endurance or any physical strengths, but especially endurance, watch out.
Yeah, they didn't do those kind of endurance challenges as much after the
Yeah.
merge as
Right.
they do now, and I think she's someone who's going to crush those challenges if she gets there. Coach for me is the next the two people I'm most excited to see in this cast are
Yeah.
Stephenie and Coach. And Coach is just TV gold every time you see him. It's kind of like I'm curious, is he going to try to be super over the top Coach and just hand things up to the cameras? Is he going to try to, you know, tone some of that down? I don't know. I never know with Coach, but Mario Lanza, I know he was tweeting some of this stuff about it. He hasn't watched Survivor in years, and he's going to watch because he's so excited to see Coach. He's excited to maybe see Coach and Angelina
Right.
interacting with each other. And he said, Coach is just funny to watch him interact with anybody. He's great TV. Home run with the
He's
Coach
fun.
cast.
What do you think? I'm excited to see Jenna because I'm excited that they had someone from season 1. Yes, they have Colby on. I liked Colby. I think that he made I would say one of the top 5 biggest mistakes in the history of Survivor, taking Tina to a final 2. And I'm kind of done with Colby. I can only take so much hero worship going on. I would have liked to have seen Sean Rector. I wanted Sean on here. So I'm a little bit disappointed with that. That's the one swap out I would do. I love the idea of Suri on my screen, but we're going to see her in the spring anyway on Australian Survivor. So really, or in the fall, I mean, on Australian Survivor or Survivor versus the World. And Aussie, the 3 of them, I think that they could have come up with some more dynamic personalities or people that want it. I want people that want it as bad as Stephenie wants it, to see her working out the way
Yeah.
she has. The way that Coach has kind of, it's like, nope, I'm staying off the social media for the most part. So I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on the season 1 through 18. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people that have been in there.
Those are, I mean, for me, those are the two people in this cast that I'm like, that are the gets for me, that are the draws of like, I will watch Survivor again, are Coach and Stephenie. There isn't really anybody else that is like, oh my gosh, they're in this cast, I have to watch. I have not watched since 40. I watched every season 1 through 40. Thankfully, Kim's here to help me out with some of these new era people. But, so for me, those are the two. Although I will say, Cole, for me, the next person is from this group is Colby. Like, I am excited to see Colby back because I'm an old school fan, but I understand the skepticism or the criticism. I understand where you're coming from because the last couple times he played, he didn't have that same kind of enthusiasm. So if he's got that, if he's re-energized, we'd love to see it. Otherwise, he might just be kind of like turn into Rudy as the grumpy old man on the tribe.
Exactly. I want to see them play with passion. And what I've
Yeah,
seen in this
that's fair.
preseason for passion, I've seen out of Coach, I've seen out of Stephenie.
I would say I would have rather had Jerry in if you're going to do the Colby thing because then there's
Exactly.
a dynamic there, there's a story, there's an element that we can kind of keep moving forward with. Jenna Lewis is a pick that baffles me because she did play a cutthroat game on All Stars, but it wasn't very well received by the viewers. It wasn't like she was some big fan favorite or anybody like
True.
that.
True.
I think there are other people from season 1. I think we don't know who is available from season 1 if you want to have someone from season 1, but I would
Yeah.
have just said I'd take Jerry in that spot because Jerry, I know, put out her dramatic Instagram reel this week and
I
she was
know.
heartbroken, and I would have done Jerry. And then the last one on this is Ozzy being in the cast. To me, I am shocked that CBS wants its brand attached to this guy because I'm not going to get into the graphic details, but there was a
No,
time period.
he's got another profession.
Well, his Twitter was adult content. You were like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Albert from his season is like, isn't this crazy? Like this guy that we were on Survivor with, it's just like videos, adult content. It was just the Twitter. He had an OnlyFans that he was promoting, and
Right.
then he was doing other videos that you didn't even need a paywall to see. And he's also had multiple women make some accusations against him, and I
Mhm.
just am shocked that Survivor, which has like really a golden brand, golden image, it's a family friendly show. I cannot understand why you'd want this guy to be a part of your brand.
I'm a little bit surprised by it. I really am. And what season was Palau?
10, season 10.
I'm shocked that they didn't bring Kobe back. Kobe Archa, he
He really
was
wants it.
he really wanted to be on. He was a huge part of Palau and the storylines. He was great TV. His confessionals I loved. And Kobe I think would have been a great one to put in that mix in the 1 through 18.
They're honestly, well, if it were up to me, Kim, here's what I'll say about season 50. They did enough to bring me back in. They did the bare minimum. They got Stephenie and Coach on. I'm in. If I was casting this season, it would probably be primarily people from the first 20 seasons. And then there'd also actually be quite a few people from the 20s that I really would have liked to see. And we'll talk about that in a second, I'm sure. But I
Yeah.
actually found a list from last summer. I wrote down just kind of like who are some people that I really wanted to see again. And I won't give the whole list, but just throw out a couple more people that I think would have been really good adds to this cast. I would have loved to see Lex play again. I think
Yeah.
that the way his Survivor story ended is really unfortunate because he actually was a very unpopular contestant by the fans after All Stars because of what went down with Rob. But
Right.
Lex might be like the most beloved contestant by other contestants. He's a wonderful guy from is what everyone says. He was a
Yeah.
great player. He was really interesting. He always gave good confessionals and verbalized his game, and I think he would have loved to get out there and play hard. Also from his
Right.
season, a couple other ones. I know Clarence Black has been dying to get out there and play again.
I would have
T
loved to
Bird,
see things.
I know T Bird really would have loved to play again. I would have loved to see her. So those are just a few, but and one more. How could we not have Alicia Calloway? She'd be a
Oh my
great
God.
person to kind of like. We haven't seen her in 20 years. She's been off the grid. What the heck has she been up to? Does she have kids now? What's she doing?
No idea. No idea. No idea.
So I think that's pretty much the first era. And now we've got this next group of 32 through 38. And I'll pull this back up once more for people to see. Angelina, Aubrey, Chrissy, Christian, Mike White, Rick Devens. What do you think about this group, Kim?
You know what? Overall, I like this group. Mike White has been saying for years that he wants to play again. He wants to play again. Jeff even brought it up this morning. So I'm excited to see him. He's entertainment, he's gold. I love him. The only thing I don't like is how many people are going to suck up to him and keep him in the game for a role on White Lotus. That's the only thing I don't like. And I would love it if right now, while they're doing all their production stuff, I would love it if he's like, you know what? If you suck up to me too much, you've got no shot. I want to play the game, play the game. Rick Devens, I always liked Rick. He was not a fan favorite, maybe as much, but I liked him.
You
So
split.
I'm excited
People
for
love
him.
him or hate him.
Yeah, he's not a neutral one.
Yeah.
Aubrey, I'm looking forward to seeing her again. Again, she now has the wife and mother role that play into her persona, her dynamics. Same thing with Angelina. Um, Angelina, I was kind of surprised because really everyone hangs their coat on really that one bit at one tribal that lasted about 3 minutes. And that's what everyone remembers her for. They don't remember as much her negotiating rice with Jeff. They don't remember as much her climbing up the ladder to get the idol, things like that, that made her a pretty dynamic player, but not necessarily memorable with those things. She's remembered for wanting Natalie's jacket. So I hope she brings her own. Chrissy, 100% so thrilled to
Yeah,
see
this is
her
a really
again.
good pick. Yeah.
I
Agree with you
love
on
her. I loved her then. I wanted her to win then. And I'm so excited
that.
for her finally to have this is her redemption song right here. Christian, excited for him. Really, the two biggest super nerds and all of Survivor have been Christian and Carson. I didn't care for Carson that much and really didn't like him when he started marketing the puzzles, you know.
Yeah.
Christian was authentically his nerd self out there talking through um, any of the endurance challenges, out there giving scientific formulas that no one had any idea what the hell he was talking about, but he did it anyway. And so I'm excited for him. But out of those six, Mike White and Chrissy are the two that I'm thrilled to see coming back.
There are only two people in this group that I'm like excited to watch. The
Mhm.
bunch of the rest of them. It's not like I'm like anti, but they're just take them or
Yeah,
leave them. And a couple of them I understand. Like Christian and Rick are two people that when they were putting together an all-star season for 40, they seemed like they'd be locks to get in there.
yep,
And this is part of the weird thing about this cast is Survivor hasn't allowed itself an opportunity to bring back quite a few of these people. They have only had one returning player season since 34, and that was all
right.
winners. So that limits you right there. So
Yep,
that's partly why we have a heavy cast of new people. Um, it's hard for 50 to be a season where it's kind of like this Hall of Fame mix of celebrating 25 years of big personalities. So it's like they got all these people in. It's like 18 of the people are, well, I will take Aubrey out of that. 17 of the people are people that they've wanted to bring back that they have not been able to bring back yet. So, anyway, with that said, like I understand, Christian was a big fan favorite.
right.
Rick was a big personality, whether you loved him or hate him, he was going to come back.
Yep,
Um, they don't move the needle for me. The two people on this list are Angelina and Chrissy. I think Chrissy, for the same reasons you mentioned, great arc.
right.
She came so close to winning. She was really, I mean, probably got screwed by some circumstances of what happened there. She probably should have won that season, her or Devin. But she had a great story, great arc, and she was a good player, and she's someone that I'm excited to see back. And then Angelina, I think, is just one of my favorite personalities that we saw in that era of the show in terms of just somebody who's very entertaining. And sometimes it came at her expense, but I very much enjoyed Angelina. A couple of people that I might have wanted to mix in from this era of the show would have kind of been more of like the Angelina cut from that cloth. I would have enjoyed seeing Nora again, and I would have enjoyed seeing Chris Noble again.
Okay. You know what? And for a player that did play more than once, that I wanted to see because I know I know how bad she wanted it. I wanted to see Abby. I wanted
Yes.
to
Well,
see
she's
Abby
not in
again.
this era. That's just the
No,
20s got entirely thrown out. Yeah.
the first one. And she wanted it so bad. And
Yeah.
Abby and I have gotten to be friends. And I mean, as recently as last week, we were still talking, and I'm like, we were talking about this, and she's like, Kim, they kind of ghosted me. She wasn't cut at that point, and but they were kind of ghosting the last ones that they were cutting, and she was one of them. And I know how bad she wanted this. She wanted to play as a grown up, not as a 20 something that is, out there. And she was so ready for it. I wanted her so bad to get it.
I wanted her too, and I believe she was also in my when I wrote down all these names like a year ago. She was on that list.
Yeah.
She's super entertaining and enjoyable, and she put out a statement yesterday, and she sounded really, really bummed. It was sad to read. So lots of love to her, and I can't believe that the 20s just got entirely neglected. I mean, what about
Completely.
Malcolm? What about Special Agent Shepard, Philip Shepard?
Again, not one that I would ever look at and go, yeah, he's going to win this game. But Captain Underpants was pure entertainment. Okay. I always liked Philip Shepard. And so, there.
Or Cass, maybe Cass would have been another good person.
Cass could have been pretty good. She's been very outspoken about Survivor in recent years, but I think Cass would have been a good one to put in there. So from all of the old school people here, I don't know where I'm seeing dynamics. I think we're going to see some old school and new era. And if it comes to alliances like that, old school is going to devastate some of these new era people.
Oh, interesting. What makes you say that?
Because the old school people, other than Colby, have done a lot of dirty things to a lot of people. Okay. And it's just it's the difference between old school and new. They weren't worried about hurting feelings. They were out there to play the game. They're going to come back and they're going to be friends afterwards. So and if they aren't friends afterwards, they were never meant to be friends. So I think that if they pair up, that new era could be in big trouble, because I think the old school people are going to show what old school was all about.
So the thing that's interesting with talking about the old school people, with the season 1 through 18 people, Colby, I can't imagine has any ties to any of these new people. However, I think Suri, I think Suri probably knows quite a few of them. She was on Big Brother pretty recently. Coach, there's someone from, I think his name was Ben, who was on Survivor recently, who's done a bunch of music stuff with Coach. Did you know that, Kim?
Yep. Yeah, because Coach with his trumpet.
Coach is a music teacher, and they were doing some music stuff. And I know Coach has met some of the more recent people from shows, and then Stephenie went to Hearts of Reality, or now it's called Over the Edge. So I think she's I think a few of them might have some connections there. That'll be interesting to see. And then these people from the 30s, I imagine to me, like, there isn't too much of a split between like a Rick Devens and some of the new area people to me. I don't know how well people know each other and all that. But you brought up the Mike White dynamic, and I think that's really kind of dirty. Like, I think that is definitely going to be a factor, because Angelina, he put Angelina and Kara in an episode as extras on White Lotus.
Natalie was.
Yeah. So
Natalie
there, I mean,
White Lotus.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that, but I know that, especially with how these people are that go on reality shows more recently. They're thinking about the next opportunity. How can I grow my social media? How can I get into other shows, whether it be in acting or other reality shows? well, here's a guy who could get me on White Lotus, which is one of the most popular shows on television right
Yeah.
now, and I make that appearance, and then I can build my following. So I think he's going to have a lot of power in this game. And the thing that I would be interested to see is if he's on a tribe with Suri at the start. That's the type of person that Suri's going to go for at the very beginning and try to snuff that out.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. Oh, I don't know.
Anything else on anything else on this grouping?
Not right now.
Okay. Okay. I think Aubrey, I'll say this. I think she's kind of another person like an Ozzy where it's sort of like I don't really you brought up the interesting point. I didn't know that she was a wife and a mother now. It just feels like she'll have played 4 times in a shorter grouping of seasons than anybody ever before.
Yes.
Um I don't really know if that's necessary, but hey, I guess good for her. But tell me about some of these people from the new era. We'll go through the first group, and these are from the first half of the new era, I guess, or at least the people
Okay.
who weren't from the most 3 recent seasons. There's Charlie, Dee, there's Emily, Jonathan, Q, which I can only imagine is short for QAnon, right? That's what.
No.
And Tiffany.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
With this group, D is the most connected because of D and her relationship with Wendell. Okay. So she's the most connected, I think, to the old school players.
So she was another one of Wendell's survivor flings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Um, and I wouldn't say fling. They definitely had a relationship.
All
Okay.
right.
And they still might. I don't know. I met Dee here with Wendell at the start of 47.
Yeah.
The premiere of
Yeah, in
47.
Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah. So I think she's going to be one of the most connected. Jonathan is like stapled at the hip with Rob.
Boston Rob.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, that's where I've seen him before. And this is where, just to give a little bit of context here, huge Survivor fan here. Watched the first 40 seasons and did not really come back after the break with COVID.
Right.
Just lost interest in the new era. So I sincerely don't really know who these people are, except for I recognize Jonathan. There's some clips I've seen here and there. But Jonathan, I know lots and lots of posts palling around with Boston Rob. In fact, Hearts of Reality, there is a picture of Stephenie having dinner with Jonathan and Rob and Ethan and a couple other people.
Right. I think that there are other muscle-bound players that could have been brought in that maybe are a little more strategic and dynamic in their personalities. So Jonathan, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that as the casting, but who knows? I mean, there's not a lot of truly physical players in here. So I can kind of see why they did it. I just don't happen to agree with it. And I think he's going to be a pre-merge boot. Charlie.
That's the Taylor Swift fan.
Charlie's the big Taylor Swift
I
fan.
saw the clip where it was him and the other guy, and they were doing the who
that
knew
was
more.
Ben. That was Ben, who knows
Coach's
Coach.
buddy. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So that makes sense why that guy would be friends with Coach now.
Yeah. So Charlie, he got screwed by his alliance. He got screwed by Maria. And so that was the big claim to fame. I think that Charlie would be amazing on a second chances. 50, where you're bringing legends. I just have a tough time calling any of the 40 to 49 legends when none of them has even
Right.
played more than once. We haven't seen any dimensions. Emily, um, Emily had a great story, not outside of the show, but within the show, because they didn't like her. She was very abrasive at the beginning and very much had a self-awareness journey and turned it around and became very popular within her tribe after merge, all of that. Um, but can she do something like that again? I don't know. I don't know. Tiffany, thrilled to see her back. I think Tiffany's going to do actually really well. I think Tiffany is probably my standout for the 42 to 46 era. Q, not a fan. I'm not a fan. I don't know. I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but within the game, I mean, he's kind of a quitter, a giver upper. I don't know. And so I was actually kind of surprised to see that he was willing to do it again when he sure as heck didn't seem like he enjoyed it the first time around, other than his Q skirt. He he, he had his fashion statement with his Q skirt, and so I just think there could have been better choices other than Tiffany. D was a powerhouse, and she was strategically strong. She was socially, she held together alliances. D's going to be one to watch out for. Sorry, D, but probably the first 12 we talked about, I'll know how she can play. And I think she's going to be a big early target.
So, I don't have much to add, so I appreciate you filling me in on these people. Uh, I
Yeah.
do want to mention, or go back to, you mentioned the idea of a second chance this season. I would love to see another second chance this season because I do
Would
think
you?
that it kind of helps with doing all stars to kind of have some sort of like, well, these people have all played the same number of times, or like if this is clearly not a legend season, I'm not calling
Right.
it that. I think it's, I don't know, it could be a battle of the eras. It's different eras. I don't really know what theme. Maybe it's just Survivor 50 because they don't name the seasons anymore. I know a
Right.
lot of fans have been comparing it to Game Changers in terms of it's a lot of like newer players, some people
Yeah.
that are like a second chances, and then there are some of the big legends. So it's just an odd cast in general, no doubt. And I do
Yeah.
think that a second chances season, we've had so many seasons now that there's so many good people, and that could be a fun way that you could bring some people back. And if we ever do a second chance this season again, Brooke has got to be on the fan vote. We need Brooke Struck from season 11. Give her a second
I think
chance.
so. I think so. Yeah. So I don't know. The dynamics are going to be interesting on this. Um, and you know what? They don't have the diversity that I was expecting. They really don't. But that's I know that for the season 1 to 39, they didn't have the diversity initiatives. So
Right.
there was definitely a much smaller pool to draw from on those early ones. But with the later seasons, of course, they've had the initiatives. They've had some wonderful players, some really strong players. See, and I really thought, yeah, I was waiting to see if Rome was going to be in here for the
Yes.
entertainment factor, but
Yeah.
he's not.
All right.
Um,
I was going to bring that up because we're
yeah,
47 to 49 now. We've
yeah,
got Genevieve. She was on Rome season, but she's the only
yeah,
person from 47. Joe and Camilla from this last season, and Kyle. And then Rizzo and Savannah from 49. And
right,
look, they have not been announced. I'm putting them in there. That's been widely reported on. The cast has been right.
right.
we don't even know who they are anyway, so we don't have to. We're not gonna critique them or talk about them, whatever. I just saw Rizzo, and I was thinking, man, I wish this guy was Anthony Rizzo, but those are some of my thoughts.
Nope, not so lucky on that one. Yeah, I mean, Genevieve is a very, very smart player. Um, she's also one that kind of had a 180 in her season. Um, Again, I don't know. The two things I didn't want to see were people that were overplayed and people that, one, I really didn't want to see winners in this. Um, but, we've got a couple winners. So, it is what it is. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of flatlined on Genevieve.
Yeah,
She's okay. She's okay, but we'll see. The Joe, Camilla, Kyle thing. Kyle, 100%, even as a winner, deserves to be there because his gameplay is better than, I would say, 80% of the players I've seen in New Era. He was a little bit cutthroat, but he couldn't have done it without Camilla. Now, this is 3 of the final 4 from season 48. I don't, and they were aligned. They were an alliance. Throw in Eva, and you've got your final 4 there. I don't like that casting. I don't like putting a pre-made final 3 that just played together. And I feel like, like Probst was singing, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" And these 3 as a final 3 did something, but I don't think they did something that warrants all 3 of them being on 50. I really don't. I would love to see Kyle there. Yeah, I'd love to see Kyle there. The other 2 could very easily be replaced, and there were plenty of players that could step into that role.
I
And
thought
yeah,
I really was hoping that Rome was going to be on. And little backstory here was I'm out in Arizona last fall, and I got in a couple days after the Survivor premiere, so I missed that fun
right.
premiere party that you went to. But Kim invited me. She's like, Rome's having a watch party. It was probably like week 3, and it was
Yeah,
at this bar, and it was super fun. And Rome was super friendly and interacted with everybody. And he wasn't charging anyone any money or anything like
yeah.
that. He was taking pictures and hanging out, and super accessible to the fans. And we watched the episode with him and sat next to him. And he's a really cool dude. He's hilarious, and he's great TV. So
So
I had
funny.
not watched Survivor in the 40s. I don't think I'd seen a full episode in the 40s. I'd seen bits and pieces here or there, just had lost interest. But I'm like, man, if I'm going to go to this guy's watch party, I'm going to watch the show. I'm not just going to show up and be like, oh, who are you?
Right.
What's going on? I don't watch the show anymore. I'm too cool for it or anything like that. So I ended up watching the first couple episodes, then went to Rome's watch party, watched that one with him, and I actually bought in, and I watched the first 6 episodes or so, and I thought Rome was just so entertaining. Like when he's going down the water well, and his conversations with Saul, and all of this stuff
Yep.
was just it was really fun to watch, and I really enjoyed it. And he was getting a lot of hate, and he was just embracing it on social media. He wasn't afraid,
Yeah.
but he wore the hat. It was great. And then Rome got voted out, and I maybe watched like an episode after that, and then I fell off. I didn't keep watching.
He
Um,
was TV gold. In New
TV gold.
Era, he is, I would say, probably the most dynamic personality to play it. Was he the most strategic? No. Did he make some bad decisions? Yes, he
Oh, he
did.
was strategic. Just doesn't mean it was all
It
100%
wasn't good
great
strategy.
strategy.
You
He
know,
had a method to the madness.
but he was truly entertaining. So I look at, why isn't Rome in there? Maybe, I don't know, maybe in place of Joe. Why Why does new era? Okay, so we've had 49 seasons by the time 50 rolls around, right? Which means 42 to 49 is 20% of the pie, right? 1 to 39 is then 80% of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost feel like they were grasping at straws for some of their picks on the 42 to 49 page. Even 41, horrible season. I thought it was awful. But there were a couple good players in there. 42, there was more than Jonathan, you know. I look at Tori from 42, who, granted, I'm a little biased. I know her from Sequester, but Tori was very strategic. She was
Yeah.
out there playing hard. She should have had a look. She should have been a rumor at least. Um, it's just I'm just absolutely gobsmacked that in the bottom row out of six, five out of the six are coming from the most recent two seasons. I
I
don't know
think
why.
what they should have done was they should have had some kind of all-star season between 40 and 50 if they wanted to have all these people on. And they
They
could
could
have
have
even
done
done it on
46.
48. They could have done it this season, could have been the season
Yeah,
where it's all new era people. It's only two-time players. So then you could put Christian and Rick Devens and a lot of those people in there. And there are probably some other people from the 30s that got overlooked that they could get a chance to come back, whoever those people
100%.
are, go ahead and write them in. And then now you get to 50 and I think what the fans wanted was 50 to be a Legends season. And I will give some credit. I listened to Rob Cesternino and Mike Bloom earlier this morning, and they did an excellent job.
Another one that I think should have been in here over some of
I
these
think,
people is Rob.
and I
God,
can't speak for Rob. I don't know Rob, but the tone of it sounded like he wanted to play.
he wanted to play.
Yeah, I think he did.
He's brought it up multiple times. He was another one who wanted to play. Penner, another one who wanted to play. But you know
Yeah,
what? Now we're up to 50, and as Survivor keeps going, Penner's probably not going to have another
yeah.
chance.
That's what Rob
Rob's
said.
probably not going to have another chance. Um, Abby Marie, she might. I mean,
Yeah,
she's still young enough.
yeah.
She's in her 30s. She could
She's actually in
possibly.
her 40s, but she doesn't look it at
Oh
all.
yeah, no, she is, but she doesn't look like it, so
No,
I
she
don't worry
seems
about
like she's
that.
still 28.
Exactly. Um, uh, you know, Jerry probably isn't going to have another shot.
Yeah,
So that's why when I look at some of these, it's like, no, Christian would be a great second chances player. Um, Chrissy, also a great second chances player, but I want to see her play here and I want to see her kick some butt. Um,
right.
Rick could have been a great second chances choice. They've got a wonderful whole second chance thing, but this is the last time for any of these people to play, or the majority of them. Whereas the 41 to 50, 41 to 49 people, they're going to have other opportunities. There's going to be
Right.
other, second chances, heroes, villains, whatever, blood, water ones that they can have an opportunity to play in. So for them to take up 50% of the real estate with 20% of the seasons really, really bothers me.
Yeah, I think that Rob made that point this morning, and he
Oh,
said that he made that point just about in terms of like he didn't say it bothered him, but he said that they're going to be this is the last chance for a lot of people to get to play
yeah.
again, and so understandably there are a lot of people who are disappointed. And it seemed like he really wanted to play too, and you made mention that he has wanted to play. So I think a lot of us were hoping that 50 would be some kind of Hall of Fame legend season. Um,
Exactly. I
I don't
was.
think we're ever gonna get it. We might get something called it, but it's not gonna be with the OGs and this mishmash of stars from different eras. However, I will say this is what I was kind of expecting. I know that Jeff is very proud of his new era. They have a history of when they do these all-star seasons, especially more recently with Game Changers, bringing on a lot of people who are new, who are super recent, second chances. The fans got to vote, but there were a lot of super recent people on that one as well. Winners at War was more people from 21 to 40 than it was 1 to 19 or 1 to 20. So I was prepared for this. This is what I was expecting. I
Right.
wasn't. I know that Jeff also said when they brought Survivor back for the new era, he said there's not going to be an All Star season for a while. So my expectations had been severely lowered, and while they have been lowered, there's enough here that I'm really excited and re-energized to watch Survivor again. So I think they
Yeah.
accomplished what they were looking to do.
Well, I never stopped watching just because, old habits are hard to break. Um, and I'll watch 49. We've got one in here that is actually Rizzo, that came out of the org community. He actually played one of the series that I played in, that I helped host, help with production on, for a lot of years. And ironically, Chanel, also new era, they played in the same season. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Interesting.
of the org. Okay. So we'll see how he does. I think he's a good personality, and I have the feeling that he must have done well. He must have done well, based on speculation here. But I think that he may have done well because of the mistakes of previous online gamers have made. Playing too hard, too fast, playing, not really preparing for the physical elements of it, things like that. So I just have the feeling he probably did pretty good. Um, but again, just the idea that this is a last, who knows? Maybe they'll do a last chances and put
Sure.
the old people on that, we don't want to see any more die, but dang, we want to see them
Yeah.
play, you know?
Yeah. I'm going to tie this all up and come back to Stephenie once more and say something about Stephenie that I meant to say earlier, but I want to make sure I say it. And, as a friend of hers, I'm just so incredibly proud of her to go back out there, especially all these years later. And the other part with Stephenie that I think is super interesting is she is a real life survivor. Not in terms of she didn't beat cancer or anything like that, but she is the most resilient person that I know in my life, because what you saw on Palau, that's her. What you saw on Guatemala, that's her too. She's a character. She says funny stuff. She can be blunt, and sometimes people get the wrong idea from it. But
Yeah,
the survivor, the Stephenie that was on Palau, that outlasted her entire tribe and was this motivational figure, inspirational figure for young girls and children and just people in general.
absolutely.
That's how she is. And over the last, 3 years, she's had. I mean, within it was less than 4 years ago, her oldest brother passed, and then less than a year after that, another one of her brothers passed. So she had four older brothers. Two of them passed, and she hasn't cracked at all. She just keeps going. She keeps chugging along. Last year, there were devastating hurricanes in her area. You
Oh my
saw
gosh.
her, if
Yeah.
you're following her Instagram, she was going around helping all these people, just trying to provide toys to kids and clothes and helping clean
Yeah.
things up. That's how Stephenie is. And that's another, I think, element to why she's going to be really interesting this fourth time around.
Yeah, I agree. And she did a ton for her community with the hurricane, um, the devastations, because they got hit back to back. And
Yeah.
her own house was hit, but yet not damaged enough that they had to move. But they went without power for a few days. And yeah, she was collecting everything she could, from food to clothing to toys for kids to you name it. And there's not a lot in this cast that I've seen that have had the charity motions. Like, it's one thing to donate money, it's another thing to actually be involved. And so I think that a lot of people could learn from her on that front. That's very
Yeah.
admirable. So, other than that, I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. I'm looking forward to seeing how these alliances form. I don't think the 42 to 49 have any idea what they're going to get hit with. I think a couple of them do, but overall, there's a big difference watching it, binge watching it on a weekend, and actually living through Twitter and stuff, because we got
Yeah.
those Twitter streets were pretty brutal before 40. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I cannot see what they bring. And I hope every one of them brings it with passion. Play like you are never going to get this chance again, because some of them will not. So I'm excited to see that.
Did you see Coach's social media the last week or so? Have you followed any of it? It was
Um,
amazing. It was great.
I did. I saw some of it, not all of it. I've had a pretty busy
He
week.
okay. So Coach being Coach, he started with I think he posted a video where he said something along the lines of like, I'm rethinking some things and people wanted me to do something and I said no. I think I'm gonna change my mind. Like he posted a video just saying that. And then people are like, is he trolling? What's going on? He had another video where he had like his tattoo ink getting filled in again, like
Uh-huh.
redoing his tattoo and wanted it to look good. And he's just kind of like, yep, made this decision, want my tattoos to look better or whatever. And then he finally did something a couple days ago where it was like, I made a call, they made a call, I said no, I called him back, I said yes, dot dot dot, and it was pretty much, yeah, he's on, he's doing
He's
this.
on.
Anything with Coach is epic. It's great. So
Yeah, I mean, they've speculated him being on for a while now, so that no big spoiler there. Um, yeah, I think the biggest surprise out of all of them for me was Mike White, just because of the career he has now. But
yeah,
he's made it known that he would do Survivor again, and then Jeff confirmed that today when he's like, "Yeah." He texts me every week. I want to still want to play. I still want to play. Let me know when I can play. And they broke down. Could be the best decision ever. It could be the worst decision ever. We'll see.
props to him for going out there, taking
Yeah,
taking a chance. And he's got a very popular show right now. All right. In
absolutely.
closing, is there anyone else that we didn't mention that was a snub or worth mentioning here about the casting process?
I think I mentioned probably my biggest ones, which were Abby, Penner, Kobe, um, all old school players
Yeah,
right there. Um, Rome,
yeah,
Tori, both very good players in their seasons. And I think they at least deserve to look over putting, you know, three of them. This is still killing me. Three of them from 49 or 48. And it's like, no, it's three of them that were in an alliance together, even. It's still killing me. I hope everybody has seen that, and they're probably gonna go after, I would suspect, Joe first. Joe and Colby are the same person. They are the exact same person. Honor and truth and integrity. How do your plan
they're
survive?
good people to play the game with. They're good allies.
Yeah, they
You want
are.
loyal soldiers on your like. I think I mean, the people that I see in the cast that I'm familiar with, I see Coach, I see Colby, I see Stephenie, and I think those are three really good people to play the game with that are going to be loyal to you and good
Yeah.
allies for different reasons.
Christian also, though, he was a very good ally to his people.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it just kills me that three of them from 48 are on there. They could have put in somebody else, anybody else, and I probably wouldn't have reacted as harshly just because, but the fact that they were aligned, they were your final three or three out of the final four. I don't know. It
I'll
gives me,
I'll
yeah,
I'll give a couple other names just in terms of I'm thinking about if we want season one representation. I think there are actually a handful of men that would have been really good picks in
yeah,
terms of Greg. I think everyone's wanted to see Greg play again. Who knows if he was
would
available
have.
or not? Jervis would be another good pick, and then Dr.
I thought
Sean.
I thought they were going to put Jervis on. I
I
really
thought
did.
so too. Yeah, I thought so.
I was disappointed they didn't. And I think he was another one that wanted it.
I think he did, and then Dr. Sean. I don't think he would have done it, but the
I wanted
pioneer of the alphabet voting strategy would have
exactly.
been really. I know Sean quite a bit. He's a hilarious guy, and I think he'd be really fun to bring back. But I don't think he's ever going to play again. I don't think
I
he
mean,
wants
right now, Angelina would have been his first vote.
it. That would have been so funny if he just committed to the bit, or what if he went in like reverse order?
Oh yeah, for sure. He, I, I, I wanted to see him. I did.
Yeah. Well, Kim, we should probably wrap this up, but
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be the last time that we talk about Survivor 50. It's hard
Yeah.
for me to make promises because the season's not going to air for a year. And
True.
this last season of Dondi, I thought I was going to be able to podcast every single episode, and I got roped into everything going on with spring training and my
Yeah.
baseball writing career. So we'll see, but I imagine we'll be putting some content out for 50. It might just be Instagram lives where we're chatting, but I
Sure.
can't imagine this is the last time that you and I are going to be talking about Survivor 50 in
Oh
front
no,
of an
we'll be
audience.
talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
we will. Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much, Jack, again for having me on. It was fun to talk about today's drop and what we've got to look forward to with 50. And I would say don't overlook what happens with 49. They're
No.
gonna they're gonna have to really play it up. They're gonna have to snag people and keep them in there for sure.
And Kim, can people, you want to throw out your social media so people can follow you?
Sure, I'm at Kim Mattina everywhere. So KIMMATTINA on TikTok that I never go on, and Instagram and Twitter that I'm not on much anymore. Um, and also over on Facebook once in a blue moon when I show up over there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kim. Talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Jack.
All right, y'all. That concludes our conversation today with Kim Mattina talking Survivor 50, celebrating 25 years of Survivor. Cannot believe we made it to 50. Um, as I said earlier, was this my dream cast? Was this like my dream ideal of what I hope 50 would be? No, but there's enough there to re-energize me and get me excited and to bring me back into the fold and have me watch Survivor again. So really excited to watch Stephenie. Really excited to watch Coach. There's some other people in this cast, as we talked about earlier, that I'm looking forward to watching. And I'm hoping, for my own sake, is that Stephenie and Coach are not a one and done and they aren't out in the first couple episodes. In which case, my interest may peter out. But if they stick around for a while, you might be getting me podcasting on a weekly basis about Survivor again. As I said, no promises. I'm a sports reporter. I had a lot of work to do out at spring training this year, so I wasn't able to do as much Deal or No Deal Island Season 2 coverage as I initially planned. And I don't know what life's going to be like a year from now, but I'm certain this won't be the last time that I'm on a podcast or an Instagram Live talking Survivor 50. there'll probably be plenty more along the way, and I'll have lots more other content coming regardless, and in the time before Survivor 50, where we will I'll have some interviews with some former cast members from Survivor and other shows as well. If you guys liked what you heard today, go back and check out my interviews with Coach and Stephenie and Sari, some of the people in this cast and some of the people who aren't on this cast. I hope you guys will enjoy. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel, Jack Vita Show. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's Jack Vita Show Entertainment, not to be confused with my sports podcast, Jack Vita Show Sports. Go ahead and hit subscribe. You can follow me on social media. I'm at Jack Vita Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then on TikTok. I have 2 TikToks. One's at Jack Vita Show. The other one is at Jack Vita Entertainment for your entertainment feed. So it might be where some of you guys are coming from, because I'll be splicing up this and putting it all over TikTok, I'm sure. In any case, thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, I'm Jack Vita. Bring in the dancing lobsters.